This is our National Youth Science Day webinar on the 2017 Incredible Wearables experience. And my name is Sandra Frericks. I'm a science education specialist at University of Nebraska and part of the Click to Science PD team. I'm joined today on the webinar by Melissa Fenton and Danielle DeWeese, two members of our Click to Science team. And Denise Phelps is also here to help answer some questions if you have some specific questions about the experiment itself. Our focus in the webinar is going to be really on how to facilitate the Incredible Wearables Challenge so that youth get as much learning out of that experience as possible. This is also designed to be a training resource for you to use with volunteers or youth leaders who will be leading the National Youth Science Day Challenge. Our goals today are to really focus on developing the skills to facilitate that experience. To get the most out of the webinar today, it will be helpful if you have your National Youth Science Day Challenge kit with you. We're going to have some time to put together a prototype of the wearable device. It will also be very useful to have a copy of the youth guide printed out with you, so that you can make some notes in the guide as you're going. That'll help you to remember what we talked about as you facilitate the challenge. So you can print out that from the link at the top of the chat box if you don't have one with you now. Your National Youth Science Day kit did come with 5 youth guides, so you can also use the one out of your kit. We're going to start with a poll to get a little bit of sense of who's on the webinar today and what experience you have. So go ahead and let us know where you are in your experience with the 2017 National Youth Science Day. Thank you for sharing your feedback on the experiment. It looks like we have a few people who are kind of new to National Youth Science Day, and we have a lot of people with experience. So I do encourage you, if you're new and you haven't done this before, take some time and ask questions in the chat box, because those questions are going to benefit everybody, even those who have done it before. You're going to ask the most obvious question that somebody else hasn't thought of. So we really want to encourage you to do that. And for those of you who have experience with leading National Youth Science Day experiences prior to this, or would have a lot of experience, we want you to share strategies in the chat box and really help facilitate the opportunity for us to learn from one another. We will be using that chat box a lot, and we want you to be part of that. We're going to start out by seeing a little bit about what the National Youth Science Day Challenge is all about, so that you can know what it is we're talking about when we say we're facilitating National Youth Science Day.
what we know about activities and experiences like National Youth Science Day is that they can lead young people down a path that they hadn't even thought about before.
National Youth Science Day this year is centered around wearable technology. And the youth will be designing their own fitness tracker using some very simple and low-cost components.
Wearable technology is a great space for
Looking forward to. Share your ideas in the chat box. How would you describe this activity to parents? How are you going to explain to them exactly what it is the youth are doing? The idea of having youth build their own version of a Fitbit. One of the things I'm really excited about with this challenge is youth today are using a lot of technology. This is a chance for them to create the technology themselves, to kind of get inside that black box and understand a little bit more about what's going on. And we want to encourage them to not just be consumers of technology, but be creators as well. One of the things we want to be sure everyone has a good understanding of as we finish the webinar today is really how to facilitate the engineering design process, because it's really crucial to the Incredible Wearables Challenge. So we're going to be learning in the experiment about wearable technology, health monitoring, and the engineering design process, and how to make connections to future STEM careers using these ideas as a jumping off point. In the webinar, we really want to focus right now on what the engineering design process is and how we're going to use it and apply it in this, and then we'll give you a chance to try it out yourself as you put together your own health monitoring device. So the goal for this year's National Youth Science Day is to connect an instrument that measures biological signals from your body and converts them to data that can be analyzed. The problem for this challenge is to design a wearable device that tracks biological data of pulse and movement and uses this to provide feedback on the activity level. Remember, we're going to be designing something that is small and won't get in the way of the wearer, and of course we want something that looks cool. Central to this is going to be applying the engineering design process. So we're going to talk now about what it is you need to know to help guide you through this engineering design process and how we want them to view engineering. I think of engineering as a process of designing solutions and solving problems. And that's really what this activity does, is give youth a chance to do that. So let's look at each step of the process. If you turn to page 9 in the youth guide, you should be able to see the engineering design process, and this is a great place to take some notes as we're going along to what you need to remember as you're facilitating the engineering design process. So if you have that youth guide in front of you, go ahead and turn to page 9. The first step of the process is defining the problem. And just a minute ago, I read to you what the challenge is, how it's described in the youth guide. But what I'd like to have you do right now in the chat box is share how you would define the problem. Defining an engineering problem involves stating the problem to be solved clearly in terms that identify what the criteria for success is and any limits or constraints. So what are the limits for the Incredible Wearables challenge, and how would you define success in this challenge? Take a moment to type that in the chat box. We've got a couple of different ideas about what the challenge is in Incredible Wearables. It's about designing a wearable device, using the information from that device to make decisions about activity level and health and fitness. We need to think about what the limits are and what the criteria for success are also as we're thinking about defining the challenge. Then the next step is to begin designing solutions. And this phase starts with brainstorming. When you're working as an engineer, one good idea is not enough. You want to encourage youth to come up with many different possible solutions and experiment and not focus in on just the first idea that occurs to them. Starting with lots of different ideas makes engineering fun and helps engineers be more innovative. I think one of the challenges with the Incredible Wearables experiment is going to be having youth come up with more than one solution. We're going to have a lot of groups, I think, that come up with one idea and want to get started with that one idea. So share some ideas in the chat box about how you can encourage youth to brainstorm multiple ideas for their challenge, to not just start with one idea and begin building it. Thanks for sharing your ideas. I think this is going to be a real challenge, so it helps to have lots of different ideas about how you're going to get you to think about more than one idea. I like the idea of having a rapid-fire brainstorming session where all ideas are out there on the table, and you just kind of keep generating ideas and not really thinking about what might work or might not work, but just generating ideas. For me, the fun part of engineering really is having lots of different ideas and then starting with one, just see what's going to happen and try to put that idea into practice. And that's what the next step of the process is to begin designing and optimizing the solution to your challenge. In this part of the engineering design process, teams are going to put together their prototype, their first idea of how to design a health monitor. And there's really no one right way to design their fitness tracker. We want youth to be able to learn from their successes and their failures as they put together their tracker. They need time to test, refine, and improve their design. We want to encourage them to see how the sensors work on different parts of the body and where they can place the tracker so that it gives them the data that's most useful for them in the decisions they're trying to make. And then how are they going to make it wearable for different parts of the body? There's some supplies in the kit that they can use to make the device wearable, but there's lots of different ways they might solve that problem. And that's what optimizing is about. Youth are going to find that the tracker works better on some parts of the body than on others. And by recording lots of data from different experiments, they're going to be able to decide what the best way to wear the tracker is, how it performs, and how they can best focus on the requirements that are most important to them and what they're trying to accomplish. Sometimes optimizing sends you back to the drawing board, and that's why it's good to have more than one idea as you're getting started. This is also where complex ideas become simpler and more focused, a little bit easier for them to use and make it work. If you have questions about the engineering design process, go ahead and share those in the chat box, and I will try to respond to them. What we're going to do now is actually take out your National Youth Science Day kit and explore it. So in your youth guide, turn to page 6 and look for these different components in your kit. Take them out and set them on the table in front of you so you can think about how all the pieces might fit together. And Danielle and Melissa are going to get out their kit and put it together. So they've got all the pieces out and they're looking at how to put it together. It looks like right now they're putting the batteries in the battery pack. That was one of the things when I first put it together. I found that it was really important to have new batteries in my power pack. On page 15 of your youth guide, you're going to find the instructions on how to put the device together. Pages 15 to 19 have those instructions. So as we're working through this process together, you might want to make some notes on those pages. So go ahead and open it up, and we're going to build a prototype of how to put this device together and measure biological signals. You're going to notice with the prototype we're putting together in the webinar today, we aren't making a wearable device. We're just experimenting with the electronic components. So it looks like they've got some power going to the thing. I see the lights on there lit up, and they're using the jumper cables to connect the oximeter. That's the device that measures your pulse. It's the square piece in your kit. They're connecting that to the thing, which is the central component there. Oh, yeah, I don't think we can quite see what's on the screen there, Melissa, but we can, we've got some connection from the device to her iPad so they can see the data as it comes across. You need to turn the power off as you're connecting the oximeter. So turn your power pack off. Okay, now keep connecting. That is a safety component. We don't want the power on as we're making all those connections, just because it might burn out the device. It's not going to hurt the kids, but it might ruin your device. So they're getting all the pieces connected on the oximeter, and next they're going to take the alligator clips and connect the tilt sensor, which is that little tiny piece in your kit. Looks like all the pieces are together, and now they're checking to see if they're getting data from those sensors.
Hi, this is
Looks like they've
from the National Forest Council. I just wanted to jump in really quick and say that if you only have the alligator clips in your boxes, that the correct cords are on their way to you right now. So go ahead and check in your email, and you'll see an email there from 4-H with more details on that.
Thank you so much for that update, Denise. I really appreciate that. Are you getting data after you refreshed your browser, Melissa? Is it one of the other Incredible Wearables network that it connects to? So there are instructions in your guide for connecting, or in the National Youth Science Day website for connecting up to 4 devices at the same time. And there are also instructions in your kit for doing that. That's pretty easy to do. You just get 4 different networks that come up, so you connect Incredible Wearables 2 instead of the first one. However, if you are going to have more than 4 devices, you're going to want to take a little bit of extra time to prepare for that. So look for the instructions on the website for multiple devices, and give yourself time ahead of time to prepare for recoding those devices so that you can set up more than 4 devices in one space. All right, so our experiment is working. They've got their device connected and they're getting data from it on their computer. So that's the most exciting part, and they have something that works. And you can see that sense of accomplishment on those faces, even though you can't hear them. 59 steps in already, and the heart rate is up to 64, so they're being active. Good job making your connections. So I want to hear from you if you are putting it together at the same time. Oh, you're getting lots of praises for your efforts. Did it work when you put your device together the first time? Now, I have to say, for me, it did not work the first time I tried it, and I had to take some troubleshooting steps to make everything work. So we have a poll that we want to get some input from you to find out, what are you going to do if it doesn't work when you try to put everything together? So take a moment to respond to the poll and tell us what your strategy is going to be. So we have a few different ideas that we're going to try. And you may notice that all of those answers really seem reasonable. None of them is the wrong answer. The wrong answer might be that you're going to give up on the challenge and not try to do it at all. But that wasn't one of your options. So there's lots of different ways you might respond to things not working. And which one is right for you? It's going to depend a lot on the situation you are in. The age of the youth that you're working with, the amount of time you have to work with them, and really your own confidence with working with the thing may impact which answer is best for you. If you're really not very sure how this is all going to work, you may want to go through step by step and read the instructions out of the guide and have them do each step together, because that may be the best way for you to make it work. If you have time, you may just want to let them figure it out on their own and allow the time to experiment and come back to it and come up with a solution that works. All of those strategies are effective, and you're going to have to pick the one that works best for you. Thanks for giving us your input on the poll there. and thinking through these challenges, because it may not work the first time you try to put it all together, and you need to have a plan for how you're going to manage that if it doesn't work the way you want it to. Now we're going to try another video. I hope this one's going to work a little bit better. Here we're going to watch a video from the Click to Science website about how you can really support the learning that's happening in this experiment. What I want you to realize is that even small decisions like what you're going to do when things don't work right have a big impact on how youth develop their thinking and problem-solving skills. And as we think about the impact of these small decisions, we think it'll change how you can facilitate the learning so that you can make more learning happen. Our goal with this is to keep youth challenged and to help them build their skills without making it too difficult for them. So supporting them in being at the right level of challenge is called scaffolding. It's like you're the scaffold for them. With the help of a supportive adult, youth can reach higher than they could on their own as they're working with a challenge like this. So that's how scaffolding works. You really help them reach higher and challenge themselves. So we're going to watch this video, which is not about the Incredible Wearables Challenge. It's another activity, but look for strategies in the video that we could use to help scaffold the learning in the Incredible Wearables Challenge. This video is called Making Meaning from STEM Learning. And in the video, you'll see staff working with youth to challenge them to think about new ideas as they create an object that can fly out of a wind tunnel. Look for strategies the facilitator is using to scaffold the learning, and then be ready to describe those for the group when we come back together.
I'm wondering, what do you guys know about wind? Mariah?
Wind is air just going past. It pushes things like clouds and rain.
To make STEM experiences meaningful, youth need to make the STEM learning personal. In this video, frontline staff at a Tinker Makerspace use meaning-making strategies to empower youth to reflect on what they already know when processing new STEM learning. Staff use provocations and plussing to challenge youth to think of new ideas based on what they already know.
I'm wondering what you guys know about gravity. What do you guys know about gravity?
Gravity is holding me on the ground right now.
Gravity is holding us on the ground.
Pushes something down to keep it down.
So what do you guys know about lift? Or have you ever even heard that word before?
I've heard it, but don't know exactly.
Okay. Mariah?
It lifts you up. Like
Lift.
in outer space, there's a lot of lift.
What things do you guys know that slowly float to the ground? Yes.
This paper.
Paper. Samantha?
A balloon.
A balloon? Yes.
A parachute.
A parachute. So what we're going to be doing is creating a contraption that can first float up and out of the wind tunnel. So what is adding an egg and another army guy going to do to your contraption?
Pulling down.
Pulling down. What made you want to change it, and what did you notice about yours?
I noticed that when you open it, it stays open, and when you close it, it stays closed.
Okay.
That's what the pipe cleaner does. And then the other army guy just adds weight.
That adds more weight to it. So you've created more drag, and what did you say catches the air again?
This thing is like a parachute.
Yeah, just like a parachute, basically.
I added this to make it have more gravity, sort of,
Uh-huh. So why did that not work?
because it didn't even fly.
When I did do this, and I had the Iron Man on top inside with the parachute on top, and that still didn't work because it was too heavy still with other things, so it'll just go down.
Does anybody have a plus for Tania? What could she have done to this design to get it to hover more? Samantha.
Maybe make it farther from the actual cup.
Make it farther from the cup. And what do you think that would have done?
Made it.
Made it float more.
And so we're going to pull up some chat pods, and we want you to share what you observed in here. What are the scaffolding strategies that you noticed in the video? And then how could those apply to the Incredible Wearables Challenge? So type your responses in those pods that are in the center of the page about how you're going to scaffold learning in this experiment. I like the idea of using strategies to help youth own the ideas, to not give them answers, but to facilitate them coming up with ideas on their own. That's really crucial in terms of them feeling like they're the ones who are solving problems, and that's what we want them to take away from this experience. So having them be the ones who fix things when they don't work is going to really enhance their learning from the experience. So we've just created a list of strategies that we can use to scaffold learning and help learners take control of the learning experience. I'm going to focus on another challenging part of the Incredible Wearables Challenge, that section where youth are collecting and interpreting data from their device. That's another place where they're going to have some difficulties figuring out what to do, and they're going to need your support in doing this. So in this instance, we're going to show you a video of youth who are working on the National Youth Science Day Challenge, and you're going to see them struggling a bit. I'll pause the video, and we're going to think about what we can do to help them through this struggle. So in the data collection phase, they're collecting and interpreting data from that device, and we want to think about how we can support them in this part of the activity. And also, we're going to be thinking next about how to help them connect to careers. But what I want you to think about now as we watch the first part of the video and then pause it is, what is it that that facilitator is going to do next to make the learning happen?
So today we're going to talk about wearable technologies. You guys are going to be a design team to design your fitness tracker. You need an engineer, a computer technical person, project manager. Okay, so you're the one that makes sure you have materials.
In this activity, youth work in small groups to design and construct functional health wearables that measure pulse and activity levels.
So let's start plugging it together, connecting the wires to the pulse oximeter. Okay, so first one, ground goes to ground, ground to ground.
Does it matter what color it's in?
So I challenged you with accuracy earlier today. I'd like you to think about what can we compare to.
Okay, so we're going to pause here for a minute, and I want to have you think about what will you do next. So this is going to go in the main chat pod. What do you think the facilitator is going to do? They've got some data. The data is not showing them exactly what they want it to do. So what are they going to do about it? Okay, now let's watch the rest of that video and see what happens.
Stop. So it's not 3, but it obviously captured 30 of something, right?
Yes.
So what is that? What do you think that means?
There's more movement in her wrist, so we should probably relocate it, like leg or something.
A 1-to-1 ratio, so 1 cartwheel equals 1 movement, right? Like what could a coder do with that information, knowing that 3 equals 30?
Probably divide by 30.
So you see in the second part of the video here, how did the problem get solved? So we saw another video here. Are there more strategies that you saw in the second video that can help scaffold the learning experience? So one of the things that we noticed is that they're thinking it through as a group, getting ideas from one another about how to solve it. The facilitator doesn't give them an answer, but asks them questions to help guide their thinking. How would a coder solve it? How would a designer solve it? So we're thinking a little bit about different points of view and solutions that come from different members of the team, because there's more than one way to solve a challenge like this when you're using the engineering design process. The goal here is to really encourage you to take control of the learning and be the problem solvers rather than having us solve it for them. Thanks for all your input. We appreciate the opportunity to learn from one another. Now we're going to move on to the next part of the challenge, which is how do we help make connections to careers in this field of wearable technology. This is a new and growing field, and opportunities for youth to engage with careers in a different way. So part of what we want them to learn from this experience is how they can make some STEM career connections. And in the activity itself, this is in the cool down part of the challenge. So if you want to turn in your youth guide to page 25, you'll see how those connections can be built. This is where we help learners process the learning experience in the cool down phase. This is where the learning really happens. They've done the doing part, and now as we go through the cool down, we're helping them understand what they have learned and how they can apply it. This is really the crucial part of the challenge, and so make sure you don't lose your opportunity to engage youth in this part of the activity. So now as you look on page 25, there's some questions that you can use to facilitate the cool down activity and reflecting and processing. So share some ideas in the chat box. How will you facilitate this part of the activity? How much time is it going to take to go through the reflecting part of the activity? And how can you really make it engaging for youth so that they don't shut down when you get to this part of the activity? Challenging this part of the activity can be. we're all kind of tired and ready to shut down when we get to this point. So it's really important to listen to youth and allow time for them to share their ideas and what they're thinking so that they can be engaged. We're going to try out an activity that you might use in this part. This is based on one of the Click to Science career connections. We're going to think about how we can make connections. So I've selected 3 different careers off of the list, and Melissa's going to pull up some pods with those careers. They're listed on page 27 of your guide. And what we want to think about is how we could create a plan for engaging youth and making connections to these careers. So your questions are, with these 3 careers that are kind of different in what requirements they have, what do youth need to do to, when you think about how to prepare for careers, you want them to think about what they're interested in, what is engaging to them, and how they want to apply their learning. And then think about what is the pathway then from where they are now to what they need to do to prepare themselves for these careers. Some careers are going to take quite a bit of education. Engineering degree can take 4 years or more for a hardware engineer, but there are also ways they can prepare for some of these careers at a community college in a shorter period of time. And some careers like mobile app developers, sometimes they learn on their own and develop their skills. So providing them opportunities to experience something like this and help them find that this is something they're interested in, then they can go out and find some more learning opportunities to develop their interest and their skills related to these different careers. The important thing, I think, is to share with youth that they can find a career that fits their own interest and the sort of experiences they want to have next in their life. One resource that I do want to share with you is a website called My Next Move, and I'm going to share a link to that in the chat pod. So that's a place where you can go to find some great resources on helping youth connect to careers. It helps youth see what the learning experiences are required for different careers, and also how they can see what that career looks like, and to meet some role models that might interest them. We are getting close to the end of our webinar, so I'll give you an opportunity, if you have questions, to share those in the chat pod so that we can respond to them. What I want to share with you right now are some helpful hints that we think might help you prepare to make this activity run more smoothly. We want to encourage you to use all the resources that are available to you. The National Youth Science Day website has resources you can download to help market your event, to get those new and updated guides, and also some great how-to resources. There's a fantastic how-to video on that website that can really help take you through that experience step by step. So check out those resources on the National Youth Science Day site and make use of them so that you can plan a successful activity and that you can promote it, because part of this is an opportunity for you to get some good media coverage for your program. And also take time to register your event on the National Youth Science Day site so that you can other people can see what you're doing. There are also some great resources that you can use at the Click to Science website. clicktosciencepd.org/NYSD has some resources for you on preparing your staff and volunteers for leading this experiment. And also, that's where we're going to post the recording of the webinar. My third tip is to take time to practice, to get out the pieces from that kit and connect them and make sure you can know how to make the thing work. Experience what's going to be challenging about that so that you can support you through that process. Do not skip the step. Try it out for yourself. Don't rely just on what we've done here in the video, but take time to do it on your own. And also take time to plan how you're going to use the time you have allocated for the activity to maximize the learning experience. Step 5 is to make sure you have a web-enabled device for each of the activity trackers you're going to be using. This can be a phone, a tablet, or a computer. And make sure you have those ready to go in advance. Everything's charged, and that you do not need to have an internet connection to use it, but you do need to have a web-enabled device in order to make that connection. And remember, there's instructions for connecting up to 4 devices pretty easily. If you're going to have more than 4 activity trackers in your session, then make sure you go to the National Youth Science Day website and look for instructions on how to connect 4 or more than 4 groups, so that you do know how to do that, and allow yourself a day or 2 ahead of time to make sure you can get those set up the way you need them to. So, you're ready to go, we hope. Take time to register your event at 4h.org and put it on that national map. And also think about how you're going to help the volunteers and team leaders that are going to be running your event prepare. The training guide at click2sciencepd.org/NYSD is one you can use with volunteers, or you may also just want to share the recording of this webinar. Volunteers, reserve some time to go over the logistics of the specific event you're planning. You're going to need 12 to 15 minutes to go over those logistics. Cover with them what the location and time of your event is. What is the audience you're expecting? How many people are there going to be? Are they all going to arrive at once? Are they going to be coming and going? All of these things are going to help prepare your volunteers. How can they expect the space to be set up for the event? What supplies are going to be provided for them? Is there anything that they need to bring to help the event be successful? These are some good tips and information you can share with them. Ask your volunteers if they have ideas about how to advertise the event and get more people there. Make use of their social networks to really grow your event. And find out if they have any questions or concerns so that you can address those as you're preparing for the event. And then take time at the end of your training, as we are now, to ask, do you feel prepared to lead the Incredible Wearables Challenge? And what do you need to get ready? I see some questions coming across in the chat box about concerns that people have about leading their challenge, and hopefully our experts here can help address those questions and help you be prepared to lead the event. We want you to have a successful National Youth Science Day experience, so here are some ideas to help pull all these pieces together. Our goal for today was to help you develop skills for facilitating the engineering design process with youth, to learn strategies to help youth collect and interpret data to improve the design of their wearable device, to have strategies to help youth take control of their learning and become problem solvers as they go through the National Youth Science Day Challenge, and then for you yourself to be prepared to facilitate an engaging and fun Incredible Wearables experience. We talked about each of the steps of the engineering design process and how it applies to the Incredible Wearables Challenge. We had you get out the pieces of your kit if you had the kit with you and try them out. If you don't have your kits yet, make sure you set aside some time to do that after they arrive. We also watched some videos to help give you tips on helping youth make meaning from their learning experiences and how you can scaffold the learning experience to help youth take more control of their learning. I know we had some challenges with those videos, so I encourage you to come back and watch the videos again on your own to get the most out of that. And then we brainstormed how to help youth build connections to STEM careers. I hope these experiences have helped prepare you for the National Youth Science Day experience and also to train your staff and volunteers so they can have a great learning experience with youth and focus on what's really important in this activity and how to help youth have a positive experience and see themselves as problem solvers. To tell you just a little bit about Click to Science, we are here to support you on your National Youth Science Day experiment. If you have questions about how to facilitate the training for your staff, please contact us at the Click to Science website, clicktosciencepd.org, and we will be happy to talk with you about how to train your staff to facilitate Click to Science, and also to tell you more about the Click to Science site and the resources that are available there for you to use. We use several activities from Click to Science today to help facilitate this webinar, and there are a lot of free resources that you can use there for training volunteers, 4-H professionals, and other community partners to lead STEM activities. We also want to be sure you know that there is support from National 4-H if you have questions about specific things you're trying to do with the experiment. And I see lots of conversations going on in the chat box right now about some of the specific technical challenges that people are having, and we want to encourage you to learn from one another and from other people's experiences on doing that. Thank you for joining our webinar today, and thank you for giving us your time and sharing your expertise.